All this will only work out. The amount of money is now so large if they get AGI. So the real question I want to ask is where you stand on AGI, how close that is, what you're seeing with that.
I'm so happy.
And also, what do you define it as? Because everybody has their own fucking definition for what AGI even is.
Okay. So first off, this is like my favorite thing in the universe. So I want everyone to everyone that has ever listened to this podcast understand one thing. When a company has AGI, you will not get it. Reason being is, would you let the world's greatest secret be used by the general public? No, you'd remake Google, you'd remake Netflix, you'd remake everything. You'd use it to create every single company on earth and just run your own businesses and be the world dominator. Like, why would you have the greatest piece of technology and open it up? OpenAI is not going to release AGI. They would never be like...
Their name is OpenAI, though.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
It feels like...
Okay, I'm an atheist, checkmate. Okay, no, but there's no way. Like, there's simply no way that tech... The reason why they keep hyping all these things up is because they're just not there. Actual AGI. So AGI would be, they call it artificial general intelligence, meaning that it can just always solve with extreme precision for low amounts of cost problems that have never been seen. It can just simply keep on making itself better and better and eventually get to like super intelligence, meaning it's so smart it's even beyond anything humans could possibly ever achieve in the next 1,000 years. It's like the greatest thing of all time, right?
Yeah, it can replace every human task like that.
If you've read Brandon Sanderson, have you ever read any Brandon Sanderson?
Yes.
Okay. It'd be like a shard. We'd be creating one of the gods in the in his Cosmere universe where they can foresee the future.
So let me translate that. It's like God.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Nice.
This guy was gibberish. You finally.
I didn't even know. The thing is, I don't even know what he's saying, and then you come in.
You bring that.
Doug, you're just a man of the people. You're gonna see it.
Okay, so because I haven't chatted with you about this either. So let's give quick context. So AGI is the thing people keep talking about as like, we're gonna hit this, and when we do, that justifies the fact that we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on all this stuff, because then trillions. Then it will unlock such unbelievable amount of productivity that we'll be able to fund everything. We can make every job 100 times more effective, et cetera, et cetera. Literally talking about it like God, like they're going to invent God.
Yeah, I mean, the way I saw it described was, Sam Altman is basically go around saying, give me trillions of dollars, I will create God. And a lot of people have been doing that. And a lot of people have been he's been promising money to other people. Is God coming? Because Zuckerberg's talking about 3 years,
Karpathy says 10 years plus. A lot of people, this is literally just Gilgamesh all over again, or Nimrod from the Bible. This is just Tower of Babel. I'm going to create the greatest thing ever. We're going to be just like gods because we can create the universe, right? This has been, we've been saying this for thousands of years. This is not the first guy.
This sounds
different though. Maybe it is somewhat different in some kind of sense, but it is also oddly very similar, right? So it's very, very funny that they're doing that. But at the end of the day, if let's just say we do get there, you are not going to get the same level of access, right? They're not going to just be like, hey, here's the model, you go run it.
Sure.
No, you can't. You don't have the
I'm not getting
bajillions of GPUs.
The AGI version.
You're not going to, there's going to be so much safety built in. Remember, safety and correctness are kind of, in some sense, at odds with each other, because it has to take what you say and be like, well, actually, we can't say all the things you're asking for because it might be dangerous, right? Like there's this famous thing that happened with Gemini when it first came out. It was like a 17 or 16-year-old on their Google profile asked about some C++ feature. And because C++ is an unsafe language, it refused to show this person the code because it's like, sorry, you're a minor, I can't show you this code. And it's just like, it's a very, very funny post, but it actually was true. And so there will always be this kind of competition. You will never get the same access level as something that could just solve every single problem ever, because you would just be able to make everything. But if everyone can make everything, then no one has really anything.
I learned that lesson from The Incredibles.
Yeah, when everybody's incredible.
I'm glad you introduced this question or topic because I had almost the exact same question, but how this affects people working in the industry right now, because it feels like we're not necessarily close to that. And that is the reason that these companies are hyping up the work that they do, because they need to keep the energy and the funding to get closer and closer to it. In the meantime, this feeling of the walls closing in, figure out how we can monetize this for the time being. We've spent a lot of time recently talking about video generators and these new sort of social media TikTok-esque sites as like maybe a means to monetizing the technology, right? And all these other potential, maybe enshittified ways of monetizing the experience in the short term. If you work on this stuff right now, and you're somebody in the industry, do you feel this sort of financial pressure of the bubble at the moment? As an example, a lot of people talk about how Boeing changed a lot when the culture of executives came in with a very different outlook on how money was just spent at the company rather than being run by engineers, right? And with how much
very famous article on that one.
How much pressure there is from the amount of money involved here, how does that affect the average programmer working on these things and how they feel about their work right now?
So this is such an interesting topic, and this is the unfortunate, I'd call like the black pill side of things right now, is what I'm seeing is a lot of people are taking on more responsibility, but they're not actually, they don't feel like they're learning because they're constantly just deferring to the AIs to try to make all these things. They're more just reading code instead of writing code. They're constantly trying to prompt their way into stuff. And I kind of foresee this like stepping stone between now and AGI, if we will. I don't know if or when AGI will happen. I make no predictions on that, but I see this kind of zone where everyone feels like they need to do more because we constantly keep saying that it's the greatest thing ever, but people don't feel as much success on this specific topic and they're not able to quite generate all the things that they keep getting promised. And so I just foresee a lot of burnout and tiredness because people aren't learning as much anymore. It's really hard to learn something if you're not in the weeds doing the thing.
Yeah.
You know, I can watch 1,000 Balatro streams, but I will not be good at Balatro until I like learn all the jokers.
Play it, yeah.
I just have to do the work myself, even if it's fun. And so I kind of see a lot of this happening where there's a lot of obviously money going into this. It's hard to say if it's in a bubble or not, because what is a bubble? The hard part about a bubble is that even if everything inflates in price and a whole bunch of money comes in, but if it grows to that expectation over the course of the next 5 years, was that a bubble? Or was that actually just the future?
Just sick as hell.
Yeah, it's just sick as hell. Like, it's the future value being realized now. Oh, Doug, do you feel that there's that kind of pressure of the ever increasing amount of work, a demand to be using AI for all these things, but a kind of lack of fulfillment in these things? Because that's where I truly think burnout exists, is when you have the lack of learning and growth mixed with harder and harder deadlines and more work. And you just don't get that joy anymore. And you're just a yes man.
So I've talked to programmer friends who are like good programmers, like lead tech folks at companies. And they're basically saying it's like, I use AI every day, but they don't particularly like it. And they talk about it as like having a team of junior engineers who don't learn. So I think...
Like us, programming.
Me and you. It's like having me. It's like ChatGPT is like a bunch of me and you.
It's like you have a bunch of... Is that useful or helpful? Not say if you have enough of them.
It could be.
Throw enough of us at a problem.
I could give you a massage while you work through the code. That would be useful.
And so I think there's like two angles. One is if you're the person who's trying to learn, in which case, yeah, it's weird if the AI does all the groundwork that allows you to feel like you actually made a thing or learned skills and you're just telling somebody what to do. If you're only ever a manager and you never get the low level experience, that feels like you're losing a key moment of it, of development and growth. And then when you get to the higher levels, and I'm sure you've talked to folks like this as well, who now feel like they do have the experience at the low level, but they're basically just directing a bunch of low level employees, which are AIs, but they aren't getting better. They also don't have the satisfaction of their team leveling up because they aren't leveling up, because it's just their AIs just doing the same thing, and the development only ever happens from you, the human, telling it what to do better. So it sounds at a professional level not that fun, to be honest. And it doesn't sound like most people are stoked about it, but of course every company is trying to cram AI into absolutely everything. And then again, the caveat that's important to acknowledge is that for me, and part of the area I do think is going to love this, is in the, let's say, hobbyist intermediate role where I don't have to make stuff I don't have to plan a city, right? I get to go make a funny like bounce house,
right? And
then I pop it at the end of the day and move on to the next thing the next week.
And also for your use case, if it is a little bit jank, that is funnier. It's better. It increases the
So I think about something like one of the things I've thought about ChatGPT 5 is, let's say you have a parent at home who wants to organize their kids' chores, right? And something that it's all this time of like managing your household. And you right now can go to ChatGPT, and I know because I've done this, and say, make me an app right now that can track, here are my kids, here's how they use it, make it into an iPad form that we can touch and put on the kitchen counter, and it's going to track all these things. It'll have points, it'll have scores, it'll have game. You can add all these cool things, and just some mom could just through normal English have this entire custom app made, and it doesn't matter if there's a bunch of bugs. If it were to scale up, it doesn't matter if other people can use it perfectly. It doesn't matter.
Security.
It doesn't matter if there's no security. It's just an average person who gets to use technology in a way that wasn't accessible to them before. And that, I think, absolutely is happening
That's
and
W
will
right
continue to happen and will be a huge use case. And the question, though, is on the professional side. Does this help? Does it? I mean, it probably helps, but I think people are unhappy with it, is my read on it. And again, you probably have more direct.
This is the part that's surprising to me, because from talking to people over the years, I think this is the group of people that I would have expected to remain the most positive and optimistic. The people who still have jobs in the tech sector, working at companies, working on these sorts of projects. It seems like you'd be the most likely to have a very optimistic view of where this is going or what you get to work on every day. And to hear that it's a little more complex or a little more disjointed than I thought, whereas 3 years ago, I feel like everybody working on this stuff was super, super pumped. That's kind of shocking to me.
I would even say partially why I thought it'd be fun to talk to you about this is I think you are I think Prime is one of the most notable people not bought into the AI hype with programming specifically, who is not going every week and going, holy shit, the new Claude model is amazing. I just did this. And you get 90% of tech Twitter is that.
That's what you see on social media.
People going, the new model is crazy. Look at these graphs. And then you're there making funny tweets like, it's been 6 months since it's supposed to have taken all of our jobs. And it's like, it's not that sick. It's not God. Like,
okay, speaking of 6 months, I want to show this clip from Sam Altman 6 months ago.
There's a lot of short-term stuff we could do that would really juice growth or revenue or whatever and be very misaligned with that long-term goal. I'm proud of the company and how little we get distracted by that, but sometimes we do get tempted.
Are there specific examples that come to mind? Any decisions?
This was 6 months ago. Oh, I'm so happy right now. He's thinking of erotica
We
right
haven't put
now.
a sex bot.
Yes, exactly.
Sex bot avatar.
So 6 months ago, he goes, our long-term vision is so good, we don't need to focus on this short-term juice revenue crap like a sex bot. 6 months later, he announces basically a sex bot.
Erotica
is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So I am making the case here that I think they increasingly look desperate for revenue. Not like they need revenue, they're desperate for it. They whether it's Sora, whether it's this, it looks like ChatGPT or OpenAI has made commitments. Like they're going to break ground on so many data centers in 2026 with Broadcom and Oracle and NVIDIA that they have to have money for they don't have now. And they're getting more desperate for revenue. And I'm trying to, ask people who know more than me, is there anywhere this revenue is going to come from? Or are we headed towards a cliff here? Like what is because this looks to me like a complete about face.
Why is this so upsetting to you? You have fragile Victorian ideals. We can't have a sex bot on ChatGPT.
So
It's his words.
I have felt like when ChatGPT is giving me Python code that I'd prefer it to be more sexualized.
yeah. If I don't have an anime Jacob effect, I'm pretty upset about
My
it.
wife is tweeting every day.
Yeah.
Get coding advice from a hot anime girl.
So to be fair, I'm gonna steel man Sam there.
Okay, please do.
Sam hates Elon. That's been no surprise.
Sure.
So I'm pretty sure when that came out, Elon just got done releasing that, and so that's probably more of a means to dunk on him and saying, Elon's shallow, but we're so good over here. More than about revenue and all that.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, they do need to make revenue. He's even talked about it. That's why they're releasing these things. But you got to think about it maybe in a slightly different concept that they make a lot of money. They're in the billions upon billions. They'll probably be crossing 10, 15 billion a year coming up here next year.
They make revenue, but they're losing money.
They're losing money, but they're Project Stargate or whatever it is.
Sure.
They're going to get a lot of money from the government. It's like all growth stories ever. Startups or I'm calling this thing a startup, even though it's 6 years old. Their goal is to maximize users. It's not to maximize money. A great example of this is Docker. If you're familiar with Docker, Docker allows you to have whatever computer you're working on. You get a different kind of virtual environment that you could launch your little application in. So it's like, I'm actually on Linux. I'm on Ubuntu on my Mac because this is what our servers are in, right? So you get to have that kind of experience. Docker, they had this product in which made $0 and cost a lot of money, millions upon millions of dollars. And they got so many people using it that the year they decided to make money, they made $500 million in a month, right? It just was like, I now make a lot of money. Right. And so this is kind of them starting to turn on those gears of we've been acquiring users through a freemium model. And now we're going to start turning on gears to make money. And that's just how I look at it, is they're just going to start turning on things to make more and more money. I don't look at it as a full failure, but $500 billion is a lot of dollars. And so are they going to be able to make that?
Yeah.
Should the government
even
invest?
revenue, even if they had no expenses at all, they're not close now in terms of in
Yes.
terms of what they got.
I don't think it's that far off though. I think they're spending
I think
something.
they made $5 billion last year.
Yeah, it's like $5 billion, and then they're spending like $15 billion. So, I mean, it's operating expenses, something.
But no,
they're losing
need
billions.
hundreds of billions.
They're
revenue.
losing billions for sure every year, but
Well, they're promising hundreds of billions right now. They haven't spent that
Yeah,
yet.
but if they promise, they say AMD, we're going to need to give you $100 billion to build something. They need to have the cash eventually. They have to give them the
hey,
money.
do you think Amazon makes money?
They don't. They do now. They didn't for a while.
Yeah, Amazon shopping still doesn't make money.
Right, but
Like like you can acquire users, you can acquire a lot of stuff to be able to build other things that make money.
But in the dot-com bubble, Amazon lost 98% of its value. So like in a short term, if
Yeah.
it doesn't make money, if Pets.com doesn't make, a lot of these companies will go to zero.
yeah, Books a Million would be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying eventually. Of course, clearly AI is something new that is like going to be a big
Yeah.
factor. But it just seems to me like that we've gotten way ahead of our skis in terms of what everybody is promising each other, and none of this is making anywhere close to the amount of money that it would. That's what it
I
seems
think a
like.
big
Yeah.
thing people don't realize is that spending a bunch of money like these $200 a month, $500 a month coding assistant kind of programs, you got to remember that most of the world, that is a kind of a hefty bill to be able to have as a coding assistant because they don't make a lot of money coding, right? Like if you're in the EU right now and you're just like a mid-level person, you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year. Like that's not a great amount of money to also be spending thousands of dollars on AI.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole world that exists in which is kind of priced out of this AI. And I think we have a bit of a goofy mindset when it comes to this here in America comparatively to other places. And so I do think that there's going to be it's a long-term revenue thing, but the government's going to keep giving the money. The government's going to help this project because I think it's more of a national need to have good AI because of just like geopolitics than it is
the China
because they're
threat
trying to make. And you know what? I'd rather have them say that than give me erotic text because it's just like, yeah, okay. I understand that argument much, much better than anime titties. Like when it comes to making money, it's like one makes way more sense. I get the purpose of this as opposed to the other. But I don't think we're ever going to get that answer. It's going to be the love of the game, and I'd never do that. Also anime titties.
Well, so I'm curious what you think, because we never actually talked about this, but I think you did on your Clips channel. But funny quote from the CEO of Anthropic, which is basically saying, well, yeah, we're not profitable as a company, but when we trained our first AI, it cost, let's say, $10 million. And then it actually made us $15 million. So we did make a profit. But by the time it had made $15 million, we had spent $1 billion on the next model. So technically we didn't make money. But then that model the following year made $2 billion. But that following year we were spending $20 billion.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a scheme, if you will. There's like a schematic. All right, so here's the question, right? That I posit. So if the idea is that every year one of these AI companies, let's say OpenAI, makes the new model and they spend a shitload of money to make it, and then the following year they can make a profit as long as they don't keep blowing money on training and making new stuff. In theory, right now, OpenAI could stop making new AI models and could get close to making a profit next year or get a lot closer to it.
Yes.
And so that feels like there's at least a
my question
exit
is-
strategy that doesn't ruin the entire thing.
How can you ever stop? Because the second you stop, it seems like, and again, you guys are more technical than me, but it seems like whether it's DeepSeek or anyone else, people can catch up rather quickly. And then within 6 months to a year, you have that model running locally. Like it's like,
to be
how
clear,
are they, it's like running
I agree.
the
I think
profit per unit to the ground.
the foundational models I think are really unsteady financially for that exact
I do
reason.
think the
Yes.
government angle makes sense. Like, maybe it's just so nationally security important that we can throw collectively our tax dollars into this, whether or not. But I don't see, like, as a business, how this makes sense in any direction. It doesn't math out to me. I don't get it. But I think that is a good point.
There's a lot of ancillary companies or second order companies that do make a lot of money. Cursor makes a lot of money from ChatGPT and all the other models. Like there is a lot of money to be made. And at the end of the day, all these companies that are making money, a part of that money is also going to these parent models. So like all the derivative programs that are going to crop up over the next 5 years, which is going to be an enormous amount, are all going to be a percent.
That doctor thing we talked about. That doctor thing pops off. That is revenue going to these companies, right?
And so when they say they're not making that much, you just got to remember, like, we haven't even begun the infiltration. People always do this thing where they're just like, oh, look at this new technology. Next year it's going to be crazy. It's like, no, societies move slow. It'll be like 10, 15 years before everything's ChatGPT. But when that does happen, then it's going to be like, okay, yeah, that's a lot of money they're bringing in. Like, that's going to be a lot, like tokens. Just everybody's going to get
Everyone's
tokens.
buying
Oprah
tokens.
Winfrey tokens for everybody.
Giving kids tokens for allowance.
Exactly. So I wouldn't worry. I don't worry as much about the profit side in that kind of sense. Because even if OpenAI goes down, the text there infrastructure's there. Like something is going to take that
So
place.
that's the
Something
Jeff
is
Bezos
going to
argument. Jeff Bezos made that argument recently, and I can see that. But it just sounds, that part in the middle, the part where it's like everything goes down, but we still have all these GPUs and we built something cool. That part in the middle is like everyone's 401k going to fucking 50%. It's like
Yeah.
economic problems that I feel like we're barreling towards. But okay, I think that's a fair argument. I wanted to ask, because you guys know with Newsom, and Newsom recently